You're still watching S8 today. Hundreds of friends, family, dignitaries have been paying their last respects to the former ANC stalwart, Ambassador Mendi Msimang, at his funeral service in Pretoria. Msimang passed away this week at the age of 89. Msimang has been lauded by speakers at several memorial services in Pretoria and Johannesburg for the selfless role that he played in enhancing the work of the party during his tenure. Some described him as an honest man who put the governing party's financial systems in order. He was one of the country's first ambassadors to the United Kingdom in 1994. President Cyril Ramaphosa described Msimang as one who carried out his duties in a scrupulous manner.
We gathered here as a collective in solemn but also in a very celebratory mood, mourning, and to pay our last respects to a great South African whose life was dedicated to the cause of freedom. Mendi Msimang was the embodiment of an idea that is simple in conception but revolutionary in application. The idea that one's purpose in life is to serve others. Throughout a rich and meaningful life, wherever he found himself, whatever responsibilities he was given, and they were many, he was bound by a determination to serve others as he served his movement. He had no need for riches. He had no need for recognition. His only need was to break the shackles of the oppressed, to feed, to house, and comfort those who had nothing. His only need was to forge unity where there was division, to bring calm where there was chaos, and to promote understanding where there was intolerance. His only need was to liberate his people from the bondage of apartheid and the enduring tyranny of poverty. Mendi Msimang was one of a remarkable generation of freedom fighters, a generation whose deeds will reverberate across the ages. It was a generation that transformed the national liberation movement and changed the course of our struggle, a generation that endured hardships in exile, in prison, banishment, torture, as well as death. It was a generation that not only held the liberation movement together as the forces of apartheid sought to dismember and to liquidate it, but they are a venerable generation which built the ANC into a formidable mass movement at the head of a global campaign for a democratic South Africa. It was this generation that was prominent among those who led the country to democracy and freedom. Today, as we mourn the passing of one of the effective leaders of that generation, it would be a mistake to relegate them to history. Certainly, most of the members of that generation may have exited the political stage, but the principles they fought for, the values they lived by, and the means by which they sought their objectives still find resonance at this moment in our history. As we confront new and daunting challenges, as we attend to the erosion of the revolutionary morality that long defined their contribution and our struggle, we must draw strength and inspiration as well as guidance from the deeds of these actors, these leaders. The time for leaders like Comrade Mendi Msimang has not passed. It has barely begun. The material temptations of political office have never been greater than they are today. As our people have realized, and as our movement has acknowledged, one of the most defining values of our movement is to serve the people of South Africa and not to advance private interests. There is no space or place in this value system to undermine the institutions of our young democracy, to subvert the rule of law, and to advance one's own sectional interests. It is at precisely this moment that we need leaders, cadres, public servants, and business people of the caliber of Mendi Msimang. We need people who, like him, are truly selfless in their service to our people. We need people like him with an abiding honesty and an essential integrity. For 10 years, Uncle Mendi Msimang served as the Treasurer General of the African National Congress, a position more difficult and more hazardous than any other in the movement. If you were to ask Kabazela, TG, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, he'll confirm this. In that time, he was scrupulous in his determination that not 1 cent should go missing, that no resources meant for the transformational programs of the organization should be misappropriated or wasted. I used to think that Madiba was simply the best fundraiser the ANC had ever produced, until I saw Comrade Mendi at work as the Treasurer General of the African National Congress. Possibly apart from T.G. Ngobi, he was the most formidable. I know that Treasurer General Zweli Mkhize and Paul Mashatile are seeking to follow in Comrade Mendi's footsteps. And I hope that the notes that he left behind will be informative to them as they carry on, especially Treasurer General Paul Mashatile as he carries on with his job.
There were also musical tributes to celebrate 90 years of this great man.